In the top stories, PM lauds social partnership as hundreds take part in the annual May Day parade. Man disappears at sea as police make another big offshore drug find. And Joshua Kelly takes the National Road Race title. Welcome to Nation News for Monday, May 2nd, 2016. I'm Natasha Beckles. Prime Minister Frondell Stewart says the tripartite social partnership has allowed for workers and employers to maintain a good relationship over the years. Addressing the Barbados Workers Union's May Day activities at Bronx Beach on Monday, he said even when there are differences of opinion, things remain civil. Mr. Stewart said the country's May Day celebrations were cordial, unlike those in other places where workers were losing their lives in efforts to have their rights respected.
In Argentina, today for May Day, workers were on the streets fighting the new government of Argentina, as I understand it, because of threatened layoffs and because of an unbearable cost of living. We do not have those battles in Barbados. Everything is not perfect here, because everything is not perfect in the world.
Earlier in the day, the Barbados Workers Union staged its annual May Day parade with hundreds of workers making their way from the Garrison Savannah to Lower Colamarock, St. Michael. Led by the Barbados Cadet Corps Band, the 9 groups marched to the Sir Frank Walcott statue where members of the union's executive and Labour Minister, Senator Dr. Esther Bayersuku, laid wreaths. While there was a drop in the number of participants, General Secretary Tony Moore told the media the union's aim was to give hope to workers.
We would naturally like to see a lot more of our workers coming out and being actively involved in the parade, but we are not daunted by it because the message of the union is a message that is going to be delivered whether we have tens of thousands, because the message of brotherhood, love, unity, and the message of hope has to be delivered, and we think that the Barbados Workers Union is suitably poised, most positively poised, as that institution that can deliver such a message and deliver on such a message for the workers of Barbados.
The Minister of Labour also fielded questions from the media. She said while her ministry is not directly involved in the dispute between the teachers' unions and the Ministry of Education, it is keeping an eye on the developments.
The teachers, they come under a different jurisdiction. They would deal with the Ministry of Education and, if any further, the Ministry of Civil Service and so on. In my ministry, we tend to deal more with statutory agencies and private sector. We would give advice, of course. The Labour Department stands ready to give advice to anybody in Barbados. So we watch. And of course we maintain our vigil on the matter, because you never know when one may decide to call other forces together, and then certainly it would be a concern for the Ministry of Labour. But no, it's not something that we are actively involved in.
Police say a St. George woman was shot in her head on Sunday night while traveling along Barbaries Hill, St. Michael, as a passenger in a vehicle. The 57-year-old was taken to the Queen Elizabeth Hospital where she underwent surgery and was reported to be in a critical condition. The incident occurred around 8:40 p.m. Police were on Monday morning conducting rescue searches at sea for a man who disappeared during a drug operation on Sunday night. Police say members of the drug squad and Barbados Coast Guard intercepted a boat about 4 nautical miles off the west coast. 814 pounds of cannabis were allegedly found on board the vessel, which sank due to unfavorable sea conditions. 2 men, a Barbadian and a Vincentian, were detained by police, but a third man who was on board at the time was not found. The drugs have a street value of $1.6 million. Crime Stoppers Barbados is reporting an increase in the number of calls it is receiving on child abuse. Executive Director Deverell Dupini says it started after they teamed up with UNICEF to produce a number of public service announcements.
What we saw coming out of those findings was that there was an issue of child abuse and child sexual abuse being reported by students in the findings or the research that we conducted. So hand in hand with that, Crime Stoppers has been working with UNICEF, and last year I think the whole program or the whole campaign with UNICEF commenced last year, whereby UNICEF, not only in Barbados, but throughout the region, created a series of PSAs. And at the end of those PSAs, essentially told the public or made the public aware that there was a collaboration with Crime Stoppers and that persons with information on child sexual abuse can report what they know to their local Crime Stoppers programs.
Mr. Dupini said they also received reports during their conflict resolution and anger management outreach program in the secondary schools. He said they referred 10 cases to the Royal Barbados Police Force. The congregation of the Columbia Church of the Nazarene pulled out all the stops on Sunday evening to honor their pastor, Reverend David Holder. Reverend Holder has served as pastor of the church for 25 years, and he was presented with several gifts during the special appreciation service. The session was filled with songs of praise, solo acts, and a dance number. Reverend Holder said he enjoyed leading the church.
People say to me, Pastor, you've done a great job. I said, thank you. But it's because I have good people around me that has allowed me to be anything that I am today. And I thank God for you, and I thank God for just being God as he has been with me. And so my 25 years has really been an adventure. Up to this point, I've enjoyed pastoring this church. Of the 6 churches I've pastored, this is the one I will have to offer this year. In all truth, I have been the most fussier. I've been fussier at this church than any other church. This church brought greater joy and happiness to my heart than any other church. And I thank God for Columbia to be the pastor of this church.
In sports, even as controversy reigns in the management of local cycling, this year's National Road Championships went off without a hitch over the weekend. Joshua Kelly won the road race in just under 4 hours. It was held on the grueling Stuart Hill, a total of 10 laps or roughly 130 kilometers. Russell Alcock was second, out-sprinting Jamal Eastman to the finish. Kelly signaled his intention to do the historic double in Sunday's time trial, but that was not to be. Alcock handled the new 40-kilometer St. Philip to St. George route in 55 minutes and 11 seconds, 44 seconds ahead of Kelly, whose older brother Jesse was third. Last Wednesday, the annual general meeting and elections were postponed due to inconsistencies in the Constitution. Unpopular President Keith Yearwood says he is unsure if he will return. And finally, a college student has started a booming business buying and selling mini refrigerators to students. Mitch Newlin goes to Bates College in Maine, and he says he was appalled by the items students leave behind in their freshman year. The 22-year-old started buying fridges at the end of the school year, then reselling them to new incoming students the next year. His company has now expanded to 17 colleges, and he expects to collect more than $70,000 in revenue this year. Mr. Newland uses social media to recruit his employees and market the refrigerators. And that's Nation News from Monday. For more news, log on to nationnews.com and follow us on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. Remember to pick up your Daily Nation on Tuesday or subscribe to our e-paper. Thank you so much for joining us.